Hey everyone, I just wanted to jump in here with a quick disclaimer. We are not theologians, pastors, religious teachers, or in any way authorities on the Bible. Just average Christians having a great time talking about the Bible and our different perspectives with our friends. Potluck was created to encourage food for thought and to help open up a conversation about major and minor topics centering around the Bible. We strongly encourage all audience members to conduct their own research, as statements presented here are largely opinion-based. We here at Potluck wish you a great day and welcome you to come enjoy the potluck.
Welcome to Potluck, the podcast where we bring our different dishes of conversation and perspective to the table. This podcast focuses on a casual conversation about God through personal stories and experiences. We hope that these conversations help in understanding the Bible, God, and each other. We're glad that you've decided to join our conversation.
Hello and welcome to Potluck, the podcast.
Perfect. Wait, is that our intro? Perfect. Okay, let's start off with saying hi. And the question today is, what is your favorite cereal?
Hello, I'm Vincent. Oh my goodness. My favorite cereal. I don't know if I know the name of it, but it's like the K brand and it's like shavings, but it has strawberries in them, dried strawberries in them.
Oh, Special K.
There you go. That's my favorite cereal at the moment.
Nice.
This one.
Yeah. Oh, look at that.
Red berries.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know what's up?
Come on now. I gotta keep myself regular. I gotta make sure I get this cereal now.
It's pretty good calories for the beginning of the day. Get you started.
I am Delano, and my favorite cereal is Lucky Charms because it's tasty and it's got charms and it's lucky. Why wouldn't you want to eat that?
Wow, brand deal. You're a shill.
Sponsor us.
What's a cereal called Lucky Charms?
Okay, hi, I'm Darcy, and my favorite cereal is, I'm also gonna go the unhealthy route and say, what are they called? Golden grams? The squares?
I know what you're talking about.
Like honey flavored? They're like,
I think golden grams.
Yeah.
Yes. I know those. Those are good.
I've never heard of those.
Hello. Obrigado. My name is Kirby. I decided to have a niche and stick with it. Anyways, my favorite cereal actually is Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Because I'm an unhealthy human being, but currently I have to keep it regular. Like I don't even eat cereal, honestly. Like last time I had breakfast, I just made eggs. I was just like, bet I don't usually mess with cereal like that, but I like me some Cinnamon Toast Crunch, usually in the middle of the night, because I'm a degenerate. So that's me.
My name's Briley, and I kind of agree with Kirby. I'm not, if I'm going to eat breakfast, it's not breakfast. If I'm going to eat cereal, it's not going to be in the morning. It's usually going to be like midnight. That's when I prefer to have cereal. But yeah, my favorite cereal is Frosted Flakes or what are they called? Not wheat thins, but like the ones with like the little, they're like squares and they got like the icing on the top of them.
Oh, I know what you're talking
Where's
about.
the icing?
Oh my gosh.
Honey wheats. Wheat thins.
Wheat
Honey
thins.
wheats.
No, it's not wheat thins.
Wheat thins is a chip.
Yeah. Frosted.
But yeah.
Oh man.
Frosted mini wheats.
Oh, that sounds right. Frosted mini wheats.
That sounds right-ish.
Yeah.
Either one of those two. I like frosted cereals at nighttime specifically.
Same. I'm gonna piggyback on that. My favorite cereal is also frosted flakes. And I mean frosted cereals, those are really good. But then
it is frosted mini wheats.
It is frosted mini wheats. Okay, yeah. And so those are really good. Those are my favorite, but also that's like if I'm eating cereal as a dessert, that's what I eat. But if I'm eating like regular cereal, it's just plain granola and milk. That's like the best
Granola.
Yeah, and this is Danila, by the way. I didn't even say.
Oh, by the way, quick little plug.
By the way. Okay, back to the topic. So we had two topics on on our story that we put up to decide which topic we're gonna do this week. And we ended up on dating. So that's our topic for today.
Yay.
So who wants to start us off?
Let's break the fourth wall a little bit. We nearly started a conversation about it. So, Danila, why don't you trace us back to the beginning of that and we can find a jumping off point?
Oh, who here is dating someone? Okay, so basically everyone here is dating someone.
And Danilo, raise your hand as well. Raise your hand as well. There we go. Back.
Kirby and Briley.
So disclaimer, me and Briley are going to mainly be talking out of bitterness and not knowing what
that is not true. That is not true.
Okay, Briley's not an
You
honest
might,
person, but
but
I am.
I'm very honest.
Even the way
okay?
she's sitting right now is kind of like standoffish, like, no.
I'm sitting on my rocking chair.
Like the old woman you are. Anyways, so yeah, we don't do the dating. We're not dating anyone. We're not really even experienced at all. But we got a whole couple below us.
Mm-hmm.
Again, in my angle of the camera. Vincent, you see the attractive man that is right there. You know he get it. He gets some play. And Danila's also currently with somebody. So a lot of the perspectives are gonna be very different, very odd, but it will be entertaining. It will be very, at least in the idea of Darcy and Delano, insightful, just knowing like how it is to go through every little stage, you know. So like, you know, I think it's gonna be a good little conversation. I'll try not to be offensive, but we'll see what happens.
Okay.
Oh my. Okay.
He said, "I'll try." I'll clap for that.
And we're all between the ages of 21 and 24, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's also important to mention because we're all pretty young. So we really don't know what we're talking about.
All dumb
in the grand scheme of things, you know. Okay, so dating. Should I read the questions that people had on Instagram, or where do we want to start?
Well, read the question where there was a little bit of contention already. I want that question, the one that there was already a disagreement, and I kind of want to bounce off of it.
We totally didn't read the questions beforehand.
Nah, break the fourth wall. I don't like these people.
I mean, we could read the questions at the end.
Oh yeah, that'd be ended up, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, we could do like a little like rapid fire round maybe with the questions.
All right. So what do you want to start with? Our perspectives on it? Like what do me jumping off point?
Yeah.
Dating.
Like
it's bad.
Dating. Kind of like what Darcy started us off.
Yeah, I got you. Okay. So my frustration with dating is growing up in the church specifically is sorry, we got a weird lighting situation where flashlights are propped up on my computer and they keep falling. Anyways, it won't even matter if you're just listening. But yeah, so my frustration with dating is that every Christian person seems to have an idea of how you're supposed to date. And each of those people think that they're right about their idea about how you're supposed to date. Like there are people, and when I say how you're supposed to date, I'm talking about like honestly everything. It's very broad, but specifically like the timeline of dating, like when you're supposed to start dating, how long you're supposed to date before getting married, and then also just like physical intimacy. And with that last one, like there's people who think you're not supposed to kiss until you are at the altar. Like it's a very wide or hold hand. Like it's so crazy. And when I first started dating, like that was very stressful to me because I'm the type of person that wants to do everything the right way. And I was like trying to like figure out how the heck am I supposed to like date people? Like what am I supposed to do? And I eventually came to the conclusion that there really is no right way. And I guess, I don't know, it was just really frustrating to me that like we put so much emphasis on like dating the right way, but there's so many conflicting things out there. I don't know. I think older people put a lot of pressure on younger people when it comes to dating. Maybe not even just older people, like people, Christians in general, put a lot of pressure on each other when it comes to dating. So I guess I'd like to kind of open up with a question of maybe, have you guys felt this, and or how did you navigate dating?
Yes.
Can I piggyback off that real quick?
Please.
Because I really like what you said there, and it's like popped up an idea in my head because I felt that as well, and it's like at the end of the day, I mean, it's a good thing to have some pressure and like know what you want to go for. I mean, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but at the end of the day, when you really think about it, you're meeting and possibly going to be going out with someone who was a complete stranger, maybe even days ago, and people are at different points in their life, like spiritually, like especially when you talk about in a church context where everyone's like, oh, I want the guy to be like a religious leader. Well, I mean, you don't know where he's at with his relationship with God. And that may be affected by the church itself. That could be affected by just experiences or just he's getting to know God, for example. But I mean, at the end of the day, like it's good. It's when it comes to dating, it's about like listening and figuring out who that person is at the same time, but like being there for them as well. When if you decide to date them, because like at the end of the day, like it's a process where you figure out if it's gonna work and continue for a longer period of time or if it's not. I mean, it's arguably that like it can happen before you start dating someone or not. Like you may know right away or not know right away, but I don't know. Like I feel like people should have a bit more patience when it comes to it in a way because not everyone is the guy in the book or the guy in the movie or the girl from the book or the girl from the movie. It's everyone comes from completely sometimes crazy, sometimes more chill, relaxed backgrounds that affect how they've been. So sometimes that's kind of been like what I wanted to say after what Darcy mentions, the thought that came to my head.
One thing, one thing that I've heard once is like a quote. I don't remember where from, but in the context of like a long-lasting relationship, this person was like, it feels like I've been married to like so many different people with how much my wife has changed and grown, but I have made the choice to be there through all of that and accept them while they're changing. And I feel like that's an important thing to consider because, especially in the terms of a long lasting relationship, right? Not all dating has to end in a marriage, but for me, that's why I date for. And I feel like you know what I'm saying. Dating relationships happen because you're looking for somebody for longer relationships, typically, and yeah, being able to accept somebody for how they're growing is important, and I feel like that's kind of what you were saying, talking about, Vincent.
Yes. Yeah.
And it
That's very
parallels how God has a relationship with us because we grow and change all the time.
Yeah, I think to tie it all back around, I think every relationship is going to be unique. You can't try to find somebody that will fit a specific mold. You have to learn with each person how that relationship is going to present itself because everybody's different.
Yeah, and I like what Delano said about comparing our relationships with others with our relationship with God, because the Bible does it a lot. And I think that it's important that we understand that the other person isn't perfect, just like in a relationship with God, like we're not perfect, and so God forgives us, but the other person that you're in a relationship with isn't going to be as forgiving. Like, so you have to like communicate, like talk to each other, have that moment of understanding. I feel like I think for me, the number one most important thing in a relationship is communication, because you can't read the other person's mind. So you have to communicate. But kind of going back to the issues of the church on relationships and how they treat it, oh my goodness. I definitely feel like, I don't know, maybe it's just because no one has the answers, but everyone's trying to give the answers on how to be in a relationship, because there's so many bad relationships in our church. So many toxic relationships of like non-equal like partnerships, and a lot of problems, like of all reasons why people our age, I feel like, are leaving the church is because of their relationships that they see between their parents. One parent isn't treating the other parent well, with respect. I see that all the time. There's been a lot of skewed ideas about how like women should be treated in relationships within the Christian church. Comparatively, I feel like there's so much I could keep going, but yeah, it's just like so much issues of how the Christian church as a whole deals with relationships and how we are supposed to treat them. And I don't feel like we are doing a good enough job of teaching young people, the people who are like very adamant about their faith, about relationships, and I feel like it gets worse and worse every year. Right.
Can I hop in real quick? So I just also want to ask you guys, when do you consider someone like actually dating, right? Let's because this is the thing, right? Because if two kids in like middle school are like, we're boyfriend and girlfriend, what even is that, right? Like let's be honest, right? Because all the serious aspects and things we're talking about is like grown people at max, like minimum, like last year's like high school, heading into college, right? Or even then, really people starting like real lives being real people. Because for me, it's like, at least me growing up in church, one, my parents didn't really like bother about trying to stress about all that stuff because they were too busy about like, you're a child, do what you know, be a happy kid, don't let things stress you out. But also within my own church personally, which I don't think anyone from my church is ever gonna see this, thank the Lord, people just dated each other. Like it was just people start dating around, they start passing each other around. It was dirty, it was crazy. So it's like, you know, sometimes even dating within the church is not even ideal. Like most people who got married in my church found someone outside of our church to actually marry. So it was never like within the actual like our church. I went to another church and was like, all right, let me find somebody else. Because when a church family is so tight, it's gross. So for me, it's the idea of being able to look outside your circle, find someone, and really like hone in what you want. I do know the idea of people wanting like religious leaders, and I want someone who can challenge me and get me in the best. Sometimes I don't work out. That's not for everybody. That's for some. That's not for everybody. I know some people where they were told they need to have someone who was like a religious leader, backfired heavily. It's not going to be for everybody. Some people need to understand every relationship is going to be a little different. Every person going to be a little different. I think an issue in the church that we do is think that everyone's going to have the same relationships and all relationships are going to be the same. Is a perfect formula. And that's stupid to think because everyone's different and everyone has different ways of operating. So it's bound to have a different way of working for different people. So I think I would say the advice to give is to be able to have people understand that you need to figure out an ideal relationship looks like to you, right? But also, if you ask me personally, I think we should stop giving out advice.
Thank you.
Some people need to stop doing it.
Thank you. Sorry. That is the truest statement ever, because I just feel like every relationship is so different. And I know we're doing a whole podcast about dating and we're not trying to give advice. We're just talking about the subject, I promise. But it is so annoying with like one couple gets it right eventually, right? They get it right, they're together. And then they start trying to preach to all their friends about how we've got it right. And now this is how you got to do it too. And I feel like that's so common in their church. Like literally I've had like so many different friends come to me and be like, oh my gosh, I found my man. This is how, and this is how you need to find your man too. Like
and then the pastor invites you guys on stage to do like a little relationship seminar, and you both sit there on your little talk and talk about everything you did in your marriage and tell everybody to do the same thing.
I didn't kick.
No hate, no hate.
No hate, no hate. It's just
All
it's
hate, all hate. I'm aggressive.
No, it's no hate because it's like it's what people do. People are very excited about their relationship and they want to share their love and how they found their love. But the thing is that no two people are the same. That's why God created us all different and beautifully different. So it's not going to be the same.
I have a question. Because I think everyone here, we've go to different churches or at least in different conferences, right? Which again, that's a whole other conversation we don't need to get into. But again, there's conferences, blah, blah, blah. But what is the craziest thing you see in your conference or church do to get young people to date? Like the date. Because the thing is, I have a couple things that I know of, but I know like some churches are like, we need to get these kids together so they can like date and find somebody. Because again, as a product of Caribbean parents, if you're not dating a girl in the church, they're afraid because if you don't date someone in the church, everything's gonna go wrong. Which the issue is they haven't been proven wrong on that mindset yet. So some people are kind of trapped in that thought. But is there any crazy thing you've seen a church do to get like the youth to date each other or find someone to date within their like city and town that's also within the same faith? Like, have you seen that?
Our university had speed dating. That's the most I've seen.
That's fine. Though.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
It's a regular thing for a college campus, though. That's a like every college campus will have a thing for dating, though. Like one thing I'll point out is that in Florida, here I am putting out date. Essentially, the conference I went to a camp meeting, and for some reason, apparently there's a singles ministry, which again I wasn't even too sure about that. There's a ministry for everything, right? But there's a singles ministry, and what they were doing was a cruise for singles.
Oh yes, I've heard about
it was a singles cruise for people.
It's real awkward, but I feel like it's awkward, but it could work.
It's not. Hey man, I think it could work, but also I think the people who planned it do not understand the issues they gave themselves.
Yeah.
Again, it's the church. We all know what it should be, but let's be honest. You put a whole bunch of single people on a boat. Hey man, I don't gotta say anymore. I don't have to say anymore. I don't have to say anymore. It's just you like you're adding things together. You're causing problems.
Okay. Going back to our college, it used to be known as Southern Matrimony College.
Everybody got married. Everybody get married over there.
Yeah, I know they had that freeze.
No,
this is so awkward. Not again.
Yeah.
Oh, I think it unfroze now.
Okay,
Yay.
that was the most awkward. This happened earlier once already, where I said something and people completely glossed over it, and I was like, "Not again."
What'd you say? Because I did not catch it. You froze.
So our university that we all attended used to be known as a matrimony college.
Yeah.
That's kind of odd in itself.
I mean, that's all Christian.
That also means, yeah, but that also means if you got out and didn't get married or at least had a fiance, you failed. And my parents remind me every day.
Oh, wait, we should clear this up because Delano does think that it was actually called Southern Matrimony College. It was not actually called Southern Matrimony.
It was nicknamed.
It was not, yeah.
It
was
every Friday. It felt like every Friday they had someone, or every 2 Fridays they'd have someone come up and talk about relationships.
It's a cultural thing.
That's true.
Let's be honest, guys. Wow, I already forgot. It's like I haven't been there in years, but it's literally just been not even a year. Vespers was just ways people could start making moves, right? Let's be honest. That was first dates for a lot of people. People being like, hey, you know what? I can get my best thing. Like they don't, because a lot of people, let's be honest, right? People go to Vespers, don't go to church. So they dress up for Vespers, try to get their girl Friday night so they can rizz them up, talk them up, say a nice little game, and then go on an actual date the next day, probably on a mountain or a little date downtown, whatever. But they've been making their moves where they can just sit next to them in a church.
It's wholesome.
But it's funny.
It's a start, funny. It's a start.
I was invited to a Vespers date and I declined because I just felt like it was too cringy.
So you know it. You
Yeah,
know it.
I was just like, hey, let's just do something else. Anything else. I refuse. But Briley, do you have any
girl,
thoughts?
You want to come get the Holy Spirit with me? Like, what?
Briley,
As
do
a
you have any thoughts?
single person, I don't know. I've been trying to think of if any church I've ever been to has done anything like to try to get the young people to date. But the church I grew up in, like we were all just friends, and like the guys in the churches, their grandmothers would like, they would be like, oh yeah, like try to like, oh like my grandson is all that stuff. But like at the church I grew up in, we were all younger, so no one is actually thinking about like dating. And then in high school, so I've never really been in a church that has actually like pushed dating on the younger kids, the individuals.
Congratulations.
Yeah, so
Wow.
yeah, I don't know. The only people I've ever been like pushed and encouraged to like date or specifically date in the church would be like all my great aunts and grandmother and like all her sisters. So every time we go to visit them, they're always like, especially one of my oldest great aunts. She's always like, when I was at Southern Matrimony College, like, da, da, and like, have you found anybody yet? Like, all that stuff, like specifically hinting at like people go to that school to find relationships. So yeah, never been really like pushed by the church specifically, but yeah, of course, the family and stuff for specifically dating inside the church.
Wait, do you think this just came to me? So I'm sorry if I'm stepping on any toes or interrupting people who wanted to go next, but do you think within the culture of a Christian, right? If you're not married or dating at a certain age, you're looked down upon by the rest of the community, like by your church or by everyone else. Like they go like, oh no, them, they're never shit like stuff like, oh, almost did it. Stuff like that, where they're just kind of looking down upon you for just not being in a relationship or not already being married.
Yes.
I feel like that's kind of like, wait, what were you saying to that?
I just said yes.
Oh.
It depends.
That feels like kind of like double entendre. It sounds like it bites its own self in the butt because like, like you're not supposed to do anything crazy before you're married. But if you're not married by a certain age, then what are you doing wrong here?
Facts.
Doing anything? What's wrong? What? That's what you said to do.
Yeah.
Here's another thing though, because I feel like we're gonna reach this eventually, but like it's kind of a good segue. It's like there's a lot of pressure within the church sometimes for like to date, and I feel like there's definitely a grouping in each church of single people. But this may come across as rude, but here's the thing: sometimes there's that like stereotypical church guy, and it's like, what do you do? Because you go to church. It's not. I'm not saying it's like repelling people from going to the church who are single, but like there's the guy who like.
Where's
I'm not saying
hug?
each church has this, but it's like, am I accord?
Some of y'all cringy. Let's get it. Some of these people just be cringe. And you just look at them and be like,
I swear some people were just not raised with the personality. Like they were not raised with the option of having a personality. Their personality was the Bible. And so it's like, you want me to date, but this person, this isn't a person. I don't know.
Hey, man. Hey, you know what? For our Bible warriors, man, hey, no qualms to you. Y'all doing the Lord's work. Don't get twisted. We ain't trying to hate on y'all. But there's some of y'all where y'all have not figured out how to simply tell a joke, have a confident conversation to allude outside from the Bible. So some of y'all haven't been able to simply just have a normal conversation about the day. Like sometimes, like not everything got to lead back in conversation to God. Like obviously everything connects back to God and Jesus. We all love him, but all the homies, right? But sometimes if you're trying to talk to somebody, it doesn't always need to be that way, bro. Like it doesn't need to be.
Sometimes I feel like in the church you have to sacrifice like having someone that you actually like versus having someone that is Christian. Like you're like, oh wow, they present you with this person. Hey, date this person. They're Christian.
No way.
What else? I need more. Like I need
personality.
He reads his
The way
Bible
they wear their
daily.
shoes.
Yes. But it's like, oh no, they're Christian. That means you need to marry them.
Like,
And it's like,
interests.
is that it? Is that all the standards are?
Pass me by.
Or specifically at our church, they're Seventh-day Adventist because Christian isn't enough.
Fair enough. But I think in a lot of like Christian communities, there's always just a cringy dude or a cringy girl. Even let's be honest, let's not just keep it one way. It's all around. Keep it a buck. And I will say, even like me myself, sometimes, and even when I talk to other dudes or even girls, they kind of just avoid wanting to date a Christian person. You know, you just kind of want to be like, I don't mind me. Like they're like, I'll be here, whatever. But the person I want to talk to, they don't want to avoid people inside the church because they're like, I don't want to be judged for this or feel whatever. Because even though we want to say we're more open these days, right, as Christians, whatever, there's still some people who are very hardcore conservative, and you don't know how they're going to react to certain things or certain opinions you have. So you'd be like, you know, it's easier if I just go outside and then try to convert someone back in than having to go ahead, be with someone within and then have to fight them constantly because they think they're right. So
I had a really strange conversation with a random person at a church I was at the other day. Well, this is like months ago now, but I don't know how this conversation got started with this guy, but somehow we ended up in a conversation. Like literally one person brought this person over, was like, hey, I thought y'all were the same person. And then ended up leaving us into conversation with each other. But the guy ends up into a conversation. He's like, us single guys in the church, you know, it's hard for us. And I was like, I'm in a relationship, so I really let him know this, but
You're on your own, buddy.
I was like, well, guy, you're on your
Literally.
But he sucks to be you.
But he was basically like, yeah, all these girls think that you're only trying to talk to them just so you can be in a relationship with them, and it's always so much like I'm like a predatory person here in the church and stuff. And it was really uncomfortable conversation to have, and it was unprompted, and I was like, sure.
I'm so confused at what you're trying to say, Delano.
Well, what I'm
basically a dude was playing the victim. That's what he's saying. A dude was playing the victim, and he was trying to explain why. Go ahead, sorry.
I'm trying to say there's a stereotype of people who come to church exclusively to find a relationship. And that's where it gets weird, because this guy, from what he was describing without saying it, was that he's going around and looking for people basically that he's asked out and been denied over and over again, to the point where incel vibes is what I got. I don't know if that's offensive to say, but yeah, essentially it was like he was complaining because he can't get in a relationship by going to church. And it's like that,
like
that shouldn't be the reason.
Right, like that shouldn't be the reason for going to church. Like the reason for going to church should be like growing a relationship with God and community or whatever. But like when all you know and all you've been taught in your life is that you find a relationship and a wife and a spouse in the church, because that's who's going to be like equally yoked, who's going to be like is going to like raise your kids in the church, like all this stuff. All they're taught is that like to find a relationship, to find a spouse, you go to a Christian school or you go to church. So like he was kind of creepy, like, and that is a stereotype to some extent. Like there's always like creepy guys like, where's my hug, but like but yeah. You know, like where's the balance of going, like the focus of going to church should be for God, but also when you're raised in that way and you have that thought process, like how do you unthink that? How do you unlearn that? Like how do you allow yourself to have more options just besides within the church alone, you know?
Don't go into every relationship that you start with the opposite gender or whoever you're interested in thinking that this could develop into something more. I feel like that's something that happens very easily for people to be like, oh, ooh, like always considering new people as an option when that's not something you should be thinking about necessarily off the jump, you know?
Yeah, like make think of them more as like a friend, and then like if something else happens, like, oh, but not like this is a potential.
But then at the other side of things, then if you're like never progressing things, because for me, as someone who is scared of commitment, that is the worst thing.
Louder for the people in the back.
That's the worst thing you can say to me, because then it's like, oh, see everyone as your friend. Don't actually get serious with any of them. I'm like, all right. that sounds solid.
I'm not saying don't get serious with everyone or anyone. I'm just saying that not every person in the room that you go into should be considered an option when you go into a room at a church or a new function, right? And a lot of, from what I've seen and heard, a lot of people.
You're not trying to find a last minute date to banquet. Like, this is worth that.
Yeah.
True.
Hey, you're trying to find a date to go to heaven with. Oh my goodness.
I gotta find one quick or else I'm gonna die alone.
I'm sorry, Danilo.
that was pretty cringe. But it was funny. It was funny.
Woo! Ready to get that one out.
Because I know your humor. I know that wasn't serious.
But basically, don't have ulterior motives when going into relationships, guys, or just simply live your life casually. And if someone seems cool to you that you just happen to hang out with casually, because people should just generally be able to talk to human beings without needing to be like, I need to date this person, so I'm going to go and have a conversation, become their friend, and then get them to go ahead and like me. Because I'm going to, like, what's all this different, like, we flipping, doing all this crazy stuff. Just simply talk to people, be a nice person, casually talk to people, just, live your life normally. And then if someone piques your interest while you're already talking to them normally, then maybe ask a question or two. Maybe, start a conversation. But you don't need to go into a church and be like, let me scout all the girls in the room. All right, well, how the female situation looking like? What's the average, like, whatever?
Also, I was just gonna say, like we aren't supposed to be giving advice here,
this is right.
But I do want to ask, like, what would you recommend to those? Because people be getting frantic. Like, put yourself in somebody's shoes that like really wants to like marry some, like they want to be in a relationship with somebody. They want to they don't want to end up alone, and like they're getting scared. Like, I mean, I get it. How do they go about that without being, I don't know, weird?
Self-actualization, being good with just yourself. There's a huge possibility that you will not find someone. And I feel like society,
people die alone every day.
Literally, I think society really creates this narrative that everyone will end up and have their person and all those different things. And that's just not the truth. I feel like we really need to, being raised by two single women who are sisters, I was definitely raised with the idea that, like, hey, it's not going to work out. There's a huge possibility that is not going to work out. And that is okay. Your life is not over. Just because you don't get your big wedding or what society tells you you need, that does not mean that your life is now over. You can have a great, fulfilling life without that. Kirby's hyping me up right now.
Yeah, dude, keep going. Yeah, dude.
And that's totally okay. Like, that's something that helped me with dating, because it helped me walk into relationships with not the pressure of, oh my gosh, I have to do everything right, or otherwise if they dump me, I'm gonna be alone. Like, it takes the fear away from dating, because I think a lot of problems is that people they get scared into relationships and they start trying to people please, and they try to do everything right for their partner because they want they just want this to work so badly. And so I think it's a huge problem when we try to teach our young people that, oh, you need this to be happy, especially when like pastors and elders in your church are like, when you walk in, they're like, so you found someone yet? Like, we need to cut that out. We don't need to have that be a part of our conversations. We need to have a part of how are you doing?
Are you good, man? You
are you good?
Eat well?
Like the value is placed way too heavily on like the ability to get married, have kids, raise them in the church, and grow the church. Like, sure, the church needs to be grown, but if the church is being grown by people who don't actually even like the church or even like the relationships they're in, like, that's not going to grow the church for starters. And even like, it's biblical. Like, was it Paul, one of the apostles were saying, like, was it one of them?
Paul. It's Paul.
Yeah, they were saying like how it was like, it's better to not be married at all if you're like if you don't have any options, or like, it's not bad, like, it's good. You can just like dedicate your life to like ministry or like to helping people, really. Like, when I say ministry, I'm not talking about directly for the church, but just to people, like, dedicate your life to service and helping others. So it's like, there's plenty of things to do in life besides have a boyfriend or a girlfriend or kids, or like, like, a lot of people do want those things, and that is like a hard thing to like come to terms with and stuff. But like, sometimes it just don't happen,
And that's okay.
Yeah. And that's okay.
Yeah. And also
You
sometimes it could be, maybe there's something you need more to working within yourself, especially if you're a spiritual person. Maybe sometimes God's not going to bring someone in your life right away, just because you've asked. That's also like a possibility.
If you're not ready for it.
Yeah. But even that aside, like, maybe sometimes it's maybe something that you still need to work on. Maybe there's something that is, maybe you're not ready. God's seeing that you're not ready for a relationship yet.
Yeah. And this is something I'm definitely still like a victim of because of just society in general. Like, I'm turning 24 soon, and like in literally a couple of days, and I'm not gonna lie, there was a little bit of panic. I'm just like, oh my God, I'm getting old. But at the same, we need to like take away the age part of it. Like, in the grand scheme of things, I'm really young, and so that isn't something that we need to be like actively concerned about ever, but especially not at our ages, for sure.
A lot of years left in you, man. You ain't gotta sweat it. But I was gonna say, I had to learn this, and I still don't think I fully grasped the concept yet, because I'm a single dude who gets lonely some days and be like, hey, it'd be nice to go on a date. That would be cool. But realistically, right? If you ain't happy with yourself, dog, trust me, another human being is not going to make it easier for you. Trust me. Even if the person likes you, you're going to be confused the entire time. Take it from me. I had a little, like, I've had situations and this or whatever. But the thing is, anytime someone would tell, whatever. But like, someone would tell me that they like me, right? Like, and again, even to me, still to this day, I still am not fully happy with myself. So it kind of freaks me out. So especially if you're not able to deal with that, you're going to find yourself constantly second guessing yourself and questioning the person that if you somehow you're not happy with yourself, somehow you get in a relationship because you kind of forced it, trying to really get in there and really try to find that person. You're going to be very confused and constantly fighting with yourself, wondering, why does this person like me? Because you're so, oh my, please tell me you didn't hear that. But great. But the thing is you're going to be constantly fighting within yourself. So ideally, be okay with just being yourself, like Danila said. Sometimes you just gotta be happy just being alone. It's just you and yourself. Be happy. Get to know yourself. You probably don't even know who you are yet. You probably, most people listening to this probably under 22 themselves. So you don't even know who you are. Calm down, figure it out. Go on an adventure, do some stuff. Get yourself right in your head, and then maybe someone will come along. It'll be a lot easier to deal with that another human being.
Actually, our demographic is 22 and older, so it's like 22 to like 55.
Oh, well, if you're 55, I don't know you're listening to me right now, but that's crazy. So let's see a kid.
I heard something once, and it said like, if you're putting so much pressure on yourself and you're going out to look for love, sometimes you won't be able to find it. The best type of love is the one that you find, like, or it finds you. My bad, like the one that you stumble upon. And obviously that's not going to be true for all scenarios, but like, I think that it's something that's beautiful in that. And in a way, like we were just talking about, a lot of pressure that you can get from people within the church, married people sometimes in the church, or the people who feel like it's their mission now to like tell everybody how to get married and stuff like that. But like, I think it's definitely something it's definitely something to look at, because sometimes that pressure can get to you. it's more like some from some of my friends. I'm hearing some of the stuff that they say, and it's like, I don't know, I feel bad because like in a way it shouldn't feel like that. You shouldn't be stressed out, and then like over time they'll start to either lower standards or start to overlook some crazy red flags even, because now it becomes desperation. And then you ask yourself, when they are in a relationship, is that really like love, or are you just telling yourself that? Just a
Yeah.
serious question.
Mhm.
But
Yeah, it can be stressful. Like, no, like for me, I've never been asked out. Like 21 years and never been asked out yet, but I'm okay with that. At this moment, I'm okay with that.
We should also preface that you were homeschooled.
I was homeschooled, yeah, all 12 years. So
Well,
didn't really have
It'd be a little funny if you were asked
I would
out.
say you've never been asked out, but I think we've had stories where we're talking about there's people alluding to try to talk to you, but they just don't know how to do it.
nah, that don't count.
But she's never been
That
asked
doesn't
out.
count.
That's
But
the
I've never been
truth.
asked out, so yeah. Where was I going with this? I don't even know.
You derailed it.
You just
I guess the pressures of like not like dating someone, or I've never been asked me out, and it like gets to you like after a little while if you're not okay with yourself, like if you're not like comfortable with who you are, and then like you've never been asked out, or no one's ever shown like that much interest in you, it starts to create those doubts like he was saying, which also, yeah, interesting.
yeah.
I lost my train of thought again.
It's all good.
I'm
Okay,
tired,
guys,
I'm sorry.
I have a question.
Okay.
So what do you guys, I want like to hear from everyone. What do you guys think are the top 2 major problems with dating and Christianity? Just like you can think of. It might not be the absolute top, but just like off the top of your head right now, like what do you think, or even relationships, not just specifically dating, but like relationships and Christianity. Go Corbett.
Pressure from older people.
Mm.
I think that's a big thing. And then also another thing would be, I want to say, the people around you. Like, some would think that having other people in your age range dating around you would be a positive influence. I think it's actually affected a lot of people negatively, because then you kind of feel if you're not dating, then there's a problem with you. Because if you already have people from older than you trying to tell you should be dating and doing whatever, if you see people around you dating, now you feel inferior, especially if at a younger age, right?
Yeah,
if you were
comparison.
yeah, so that's, I think those are 2 of the biggest things that I've noticed, especially because when you're in a church with a lot of youth and you see people who are dating and like you feel like you're one of the few people who aren't, you definitely get hit a lot harder with that.
I'm trying to think of 2, but only one's in my head right now, just over and over again in my head. So I'm just gonna say this one right now. I think a lot of the times, like, people are looking for a person who has a deep, like I heard a few times, deep connection with God, like God's first in their life, and like they, it's like a big, like, I guess, characteristic that they want in that person, and that's fine. The problem is that, like, realistically, what the reality is that that's very rare, and I think what's more gonna happen is, even with like even a pastor, for example, if you're gonna be dating a pastor, like, there's still room for growth, and at the end of the day, like, everyone is at different stages at their relationship with God, which is what it's all about. It's God is everyone has their own relationship with God and on their own growth path. So I feel like a lot of times it's being characterized like you should find someone who is God-fearing, but it's more like there's people who are further in that relationship with God than you are, or behind. And so it becomes, instead of like a turnoff, instead of realizing, oh, we can grow together in a sense. And I feel like that's actually what's probably the most realistic to happen, rather than finding someone who's already fully, because like you said, sometimes there is people who are fully I guess grounded in the Bible, but it's almost like their entire personality. There's nothing.
I really like that you said that, Vincent, because I definitely see there's a lot of pressure
to specifically for women to find a man who is very spiritually grounded. That's a lot of pressure on men. Like it's like we're gonna be the same age, but you're supposed to be like this amazing like spiritual leader. And like you said, everybody is at different phases of their relationship with God. And I think that's just unfair. Another thing that kind of is related to that, your relation, like people's relationship with God are also just gonna look different. Like, I'll be honest and transparent here. I was a little hesitant to date Delano because that was the advice that I was getting from everybody. Like, make sure they're grounded in a relationship with God, and his relationship with God on the outside to me, I mean, it didn't look like it is not the stereotypical like Seventh-day Adventist guy that like speaks in front of church or plays the guitar for worship songs with people or like whatever. And I think a lot of people will hold that up as kind of the type you're supposed to be looking for, which is not, it's so stupid. Like, yes, if you find a guy like that and you love him, fantastic. I'm not hating on that type of person at all. But that's a very, very small part of people. And I don't even think I would necessarily like dating somebody like that. Everybody's relationship with God looks different. We've been touching on this off and on throughout this whole thing, but just like the idea that there's a blueprint, like a formula, I think Kirby used the word formula earlier, for Christian dating is so false. And that applies, I think, to Christianity in general. Like there's not a formula for being a Christian. God is a God of so many different characteristics, and he connects with people in so many different ways. There's not one right way to be a Christian or to date as a Christian.
If everybody was supposed to date the same way, then why wouldn't everybody be made the same way? Why wouldn't there be anybody who is unique? No, we are all different because we're different, and that's fine. Because if we were all the same, it'd be a very dull world.
I guess those first two things that came to my mind was like the urgency to get married, but the like lack of commitment, like from the youth. Like just in general, like I don't know, I feel like I see that a lot. Like a lot of people are talking to a lot of people, but then no one actually wants to like date or actually like commit to one person. Like just like in the churches, different churches I've been to. So that's the first two things that came to my mind.
Do you think it's wrong for people wanting to, just talk to multiple people and see their options about who they would like to date?
Not particularly. No. I think having options, but I think being clear in like communication is important in that. Like clearly communicating what a person is looking for. And I feel like people are scared of like stepping on people's toes. And so they're not, because like maybe people don't even realize that they're scared of commitment, or like they're just not ready for commitment. But then like everyone's pressuring them like in the church to like settle down and get married. But they're like, okay, but like, well, I don't know. That's just what I've seen in churches.
There's also like, I guess I didn't really say two things, but one thing I can think of that kind of relates to that is like the urgency to get married is people who rush into marriage, and like we've said before, like they're looking for, as long as they're a Christian, they're good, and they rush into marriage and they ignore all the red flags. And then like Christians are very, very human. Like there have been some really toxic relationships that have come out of just like feeling the pressure to get married and rushing into it.
I think another thing that comes to mind for me, the idea that it's important to do it right the first time. That's statistically impossible almost. Like it's not typically happening that you're doing it right the first time. And even if it is the first time and the first time is the only time, you're not necessarily doing it right, but you're learning
the first
from
time in dating or like marriage.
dating.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, one and done.
There's a harsh reality. Some people need to understand the person they're dating right now for the very first time, they might not marry, dude. And you might make mistakes while in the date while dating this person. So you might have to want to learn from these mistakes, deal with someone who is making mistakes and wait with them to learn from them. Things like that. I think a lot of people assume every person they're gonna get with is gonna be the perfect individual for them.
Yeah, it's like people get placed on a pedestal, and then like people are people and human, and they do human things, and people are like, you're not that person that I've created in my head. What are you doing acting outside this little box? Like, yeah, definitely that's an issue, especially like in a godly aspect. Like you could meet them in like Sabbath school or Bible study, and people like, wow, they read their Bible, like they like sing song service, and like they create this narrative around that person and who they are in church. But then when they start like going out for real and then like talking, and like they get to know who they actually are, and they don't like that person, and so they think they're like ungodly or unchristian because they don't fit this one like theme 24/7.
Right. Okay, so we need to start wrapping up. We have some questions on our Instagram where people have put through. We told them that we're doing dating, and we have some rapid fire questions. So I think the best way to do this is I'll ask a question, one person will answer it, and then we'll move on. All right? So let's make sure we let everyone talk. And if you absolutely feel like you have to say something, like you can, like to add on to it, but like let's make this quick. So the first one is, what are the what are the don'ts when dating someone as a young adult Christian?
Rush things.
Ooh, there you go. Okay, dealing with mixed signals during the talking phase. Thoughts?
Talking it out, because not saying something is worse than saying something and then talking it out again. So
If you're correct about our demographics, yeah, we too grown to be looking at things and not understanding what's going on. Just say it. Let's just come on. We grown people. Talk about it.
Communication.
Yeah, I do feel like I have to add to this too. The talking phase is probably so trash nowadays. It's so long. It's incredibly long. I've been in talking phases that lasted like a year. And we have no title. We're going on dates weekly. And what are we? I don't know. So
see,
yeah.
but if you feel, but the thing is, if you feel like you want to be something more, just say it. Just say it. If you feel like you want to talk stage, you go like, man, this feels weird. I want to just explain that I want to be something.
Women are taught that we're not supposed to do that. That's a whole other.
Hey, that's dumb to me personally, but okay.
Yeah. So what is your biggest struggle when dating?
Doing it.
The two single people.
Dating in general. Do you have a preference?
I don't need to know that.
Yeah, I feel like
I prefer men personally.
Oh, I think they mean like wait, I don't think they mean gender. I think they were talking about like type of person.
Type. I think that's what they meant. Yeah, preference isn't type.
I
y'all don't need to know.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I don't think it's wrong to have a preference. Just don't be racist.
If they're human, pretty good.
No, louder for those in the back.
Yeah, y'all don't need to know all the little things I'm into. Yeah, it's good. If
okay,
you know me,
so
you know me.
would you date someone shorter or taller than you?
Yes.
Yes, I like not like drastically shorter, I'll be honest, but yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's not that big a deal.
Wait, Riley, you would date someone shorter than you?
I say that.
Don't lie. Don't lie to people. Brian, don't lie to people. Riley, don't lie.
I say that knowing
do not lie. Riley, it is now the Sabbath. Do not lie.
I say that knowing I'm 5'2", and statistically most people are
so
taller than me. So
if a 5 foot even man was trying to ask you on a date,
it depends. There's
if
so many more things.
Yes.
No, it depends on a lot of different things. So I don't know.
Would you not feel a certain way if a 5 foot even man tried to talk to you? Would you not feel like?
Kirby,
okay, moving on. Who should make the first move? You or your possible significant other? Let's just do short answers. Kirby, go.
Whoever wants it more.
No. Just say you or the other person. Just make it.
If you were really about wanting it,
Okay,
person, then you
Riley,
make the first
go.
move. They want you
I
more.
think the guy should make the first move.
Yeah, Darcy.
I want the guy to make the first move, but if I reject them first, then I need to make the first move to get them back.
Oh, yes.
Solid answer.
Delano.
Whoever wants to, yeah.
Oh my God. Vincent.
Equality.
Ooh, I like this question. I think I would say the guy first, but at the same time, the way I am, I feel like I would like edge it both ends, and then when we get to like a place where I know it's almost obvious, then I say.
Okay, I definitely think the guy
That's how
should. I'm sorry, I'm putting the pressure on you guys.
So what are you gonna? So are we gonna play the little game where it's like, well, I'm here. You should know that I'm into you already.
No.
Like
No.
if you don't,
Next question.
Give signs.
Next question. This person said, "What are the red flags?"
So many.
Okay.
Well, there's a
What are the do's and don'ts in a relationship?
Racism is the don't.
That's a good one, yeah.
That's a solid one.
I
That's
said
also a
do's
good red
first,
flag.
so you're like,
Anti-Semitism.
all right. Pros and cons of a long distance relationship.
Ooh.
I
Depending on
am
the
currently in a long distance relationship. I have had a long distance relationship. It's all cons. It's all cons.
depending.
I would say
It's depending on the love language, and it's depending on the time frame you are away.
That's true.
That's a solid answer.
It's something that's
that's good.
now, and it's difficult, but it's when you communicate through it, it becomes doable, obviously, because the time is not so long between. But
Yeah.
If you're really into physical touch, you can't do it. Just don't.
Yeah, that is my number one love language. So
Yeah, just don't.
and then my second, like, that's also tied with physical touch is quality time. So for me, it's just not.
Oh yeah. Nah, you can't do a little FaceTime, quality time for like an
Yet
hour.
I am
This is-
currently in one. So okay, next question. Which might be just a troll, but how to date? One
What?
word.
Don't.
Listen to this podcast so you might figure it out.
Oh my gosh. Okay,
in
next
the
question.
words of Nike,
Chill.
just do it.
Backwards, and you'll have all the answers.
Oh,
Right, yeah,
there you go.
yeah.
Okay, next question. This is kind of a statement that we can discuss on being serious / dating for marriage and not investing too much too quickly.
Too fast, too soon.
There is a lot of rushed relationships in Christianity. Like someone meets someone and then are engaged 3 months later and then married 2 months later.
3 months, Daniel, I've seen 2 weeks. Come on now.
Hey, I was giving them
Crazy.
time. I was being generous.
I said, hey, we can get married tomorrow. My dad's the pastor. We could just get it done. Type situation.
Yeah.
And in order to be real about a relationship, it takes time. So
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, you
I
can't
know
know,
we're not supposed
you
to give
can't
out
know a
advice.
person in 6 months to a year. You can't.
Also quickly, very quickly. At the end of the day, marriage is like, I wouldn't say a piece of paper because it's a very sacred bond. But if it really is going to be forever, then being married doesn't really change that as much because you're going to be with them beyond that as much as well. So for some reason, like, people like to think that marriage is like makes a huge change or something, but really it should be the same. And it all should only get better from there because of time and not because now you have a ring on your finger.
Yeah.
The ring symbolizes something, but as far as the relationship between you two, it should just continue to keep growing.
Yeah.
And if you're gonna rush, if you're gonna throw all your chips in, like, I guess in a way, and like just kind of rush things, you're gonna miss some things that are so beautiful, and that ironically you will miss out on your maybe miss out on the big wedding day or other things that you're also looking forward to because you've rushed. So it's kind of ironic. In the best way, it's like this is like slow and steady wins the race in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Take your time because you need to enjoy also the moments that you have.
Marriage isn't an end goal, but a step point in the relationship.
Word.
Yeah.
A quick little thing about this. I think y'all shouldn't get married until you guys hate each other one time. Because some people just get too happy and then never see the bad side of their person yet. And then once they finally see it after they get married, they confused.
Okay, Dr. Phil.
Just be tired of your person one time and be like,
that's true. That's true.
I think I can deal with it.
Yeah.
All right. So
and to be clear, he's not saying annoying.
Yeah.
He's not saying annoyed. I mean,
Look, I can't stand this person today. Just leave me alone. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Because you still want to talk to them. You still want to be involved with them, but you just can't deal with them right
like
now.
where you got to make a comeback from.
All right. So just wrapping up, we need to do this topic again because there is so much we did not talk about. We did not even talk about virginity, shaming, divorce. We didn't really talk much about marriage.
Well, I can talk about divorce.
We didn't talk about
divorce.
But I think there needs to be a part 2 to this at some point for sure. But just to wrap up today, let's do our application. What's something that you got out of it? And yeah, let's go.
Dating. I'm doing.
I can start us off. I just think that I really appreciated this conversation with just hearing the different perspectives, and it's really easy for us because we're very like-minded individuals because we're friends. And so we have a lot of similar ideas about things, but hearing it coming not from me was like, oh yeah, okay, I'm not wrong about this. It just kind of was like an extra like, okay, yeah, I'm not the only one that's experienced this pressure in the church, and it's just, yeah, community. I liked this.
I'll say communication is utmost key in a relationship, whether it be a dating relationship, a marriage relationship, a friendship. Communicating is number 1.
Sometimes it's okay to be single and not ready to be mingle.
Hey.
For me, I figured out what I already knew this, but I think this conversation helped me figure out more. Be happy with yourself, guy or girl. We ain't discriminating. Everyone can be sad. But relationships are not gonna make you happy, man. Be happy with yourself first, and then find somebody.
I will not be original, and I'll just piggyback off of what Kirby said and just say that dating and relationships and marriage is not life, and there's so much more to get out of life than just that.
All right, that sounds good. So just to end it off, I'm Danila.
I'm Vincent.
I'm Delano.
I'm Darcy.
I'm Kirby.
And I'm Briley.
And bye.
Bye.
Deuces.